We also grew up watching your movies. We saw Old School when we were like 12, so we love your work.
Huge
fans.
That's a good age to see an art movie. Like Old School.
Something raunchy like that, but you did a terrific job with this film, and we loved it so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sometimes you watch a movie and everything clicks when you watch it. And you're like, I get what you're doing with everything here. I had that experience with this.
Oh, that's good. You know, I found that people that kind of had to go back to see it again because there's a lot of little things going on in the movie, behind the movie in some ways, and I think for me, as when I watch movies, that's always the fun part of kind of decoding a movie.
That's the joy of it.
Sometimes, you know, it's not. You don't want it to ever feel like a job, but it's also kind of the fun part. I always use the expression, I'd rather have people leaning in, you know, and I think that just makes watching a film more interesting.
With this film in particular, you could have made like a softball, hit a home run, easy standard sequel, but it looks like you really wanted to challenge the audience and do something different. So what was your goal making the sequel?
Well, it was a little bit of that. You're right. Sequels sometimes can be a bit of a layup, but to be quite frank, you know, I don't know that Joaquin Phoenix would have signed up for a layup. You know, he really wants to. He always wants to be challenged. He wants to feel like this could be a fucking disaster, quite frankly. You know, and so some of it was that, and some of it is just this idea of. You know, as you make more films, as a director, just me, the crew I've worked with for the last 7 movies, we like challenging ourselves too and trying something just totally different.
Yeah, and you use music in this film really well to dive into the mind of Arthur Flick.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is it about music you think connects us to our fantasies, to our realities, to our identity?
I mean, I think just music for everyone is the soundtrack of their life, and everybody has a different soundtrack in some ways, but something Joaquin and I talked about really early on the first film was that Arthur, while he might be left-footed with the world, while he might be out of step with the world, he has this music inside of him, and that came out in the first movie. Remember, he's dancing in the bathroom, or he dances when he comes out on Murray. So yeah, it was just a big part of the character of Arthur for us. So this seemed like a logical place to go, even though it seems kind of crazy on the outside.
While writing this, how do you write a screenplay like this where maybe you're managing audience expectations versus what you particularly want to do with it?
Movies are made and are good, and they are fan service movies, and they are managing audiences' expectations. Or you can do something entirely different, and I think there's something to be said for both of those things. I just think, again, as a creative person, all you can do is take risks and work hard and see what happens, and that's kind of what's fun about the job that we do.
And with all the singing and dancing, what was choreography like and blocking? And did you pick up sound on set, or did you do it in post? And were Gaga and Phoenix involved with any of the choreography for their characters themselves?
Yeah, of course. I mean, they were, okay, that's a long question, but first of all, the actors on my movies, on every movies, are involved in all those things, always, right? It's yes, you hire an amazing choreographer. On this one, we have a gentleman named Michael Arnold, but certainly Gaga's going to have a say in her choreography, and Joaquin has, you know, a point of view on everything. And yeah, we recorded the songs, you know, live. They were singing live every take on set, which, you know, is not unique to this film. A lot of musicals try to do it. Obviously, you're going to have Lady Gaga in the movie. You have to do it that way. Joaquin may have been intimidated sometimes to be singing live in front of her, but he got into it really quick, and you know.
I found for the choreography, the big show-stopping spectacle sequences were amazing, but I actually connected more to the very subtle dancing that both of them were doing, and like when they were alone in private.
Me too.
And that, for me, that was like the most powerful bits of dancing I saw.
I think what you're responding to is the emotion, and I think that's you know, it's so funny because one of the songs in the movie is "For Once in My Life," which is made famous by, of course, Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra's a million times going to be the singer that Joaquin can ever be, right? However, Joaquin sings that song with such emotion that it takes it into an entirely different direction. I'm not saying it's better than Sinatra, it could never be, but it's different because of the emotion that he's singing it with.
So watching this film, color is very important, and I picked up on blue, yellow, and sometimes green happening. And I wanted to ask about the color theory that you and your DP Lawrence were using, and how it represented the characters.
Well, the first really burst of color you see in the movie is the umbrellas, and the umbrellas that are happening in Arthur's mind, and really what that represents is, oh wait, there's still Arthur's still in there, right? That flame has not totally been extinguished. The color of those umbrellas, if you're paying attention, not that you should, I don't mean it like you missed it, are actually the colors of the Murray Franklin curtain.
Gotcha,
that
yeah.
It comes out on.
Yeah.
And we started to be, those colors show up a lot in the movie and in Arthur's life, so yeah.
All right,
But it's, to put it simply, like, directors have a lot of tools with which to kind of paint, to make their portraits, their paintings. Color, cinematography is obviously a huge one. Music, for me, is always one of the biggest.
Can you talk about your evolution as a filmmaker, now gearing towards darker stories, more complex characters later in your career after the beginning with a lot of comedies?
To me, it's just, to me, a lot of it comes from actors that I could work with. Joaquin is somebody that any director is dying to work with. He is just on the Mount Rushmore, to me, of his generation of actors. So a lot of those decisions are sometimes made with, man, if I could get so-and-so to do this. But, a lot of it for me is like who you can work with. I know it's been said about me, but this idea that I'm not doing comedy anymore, comedy to me is still the most important and the most fun way to make a film, and I would love to go back to it, explore it, find actors to build something around and just kill it, because I do think the world could use a little more laughter at the moment.
Ironically, even though you're making a Joker movie, yeah.
I know. Exactly.
And in terms of writing, do you listen to anything when you write? And did you listen to anything in particular while you were writing this screenplay?
Yeah, I mean, when I would write the Hangover movies or the comedies in the past, I would listen to just music that I liked, right? I would often Neil Young or something, whatever, pick anything from that sort of era, and it would just be on. With these movies, on the first and really on the second film, I was listening to a lot of Hilder's stuff. Hilder, to me, Hilder's our composer, and she really somehow captures Arthur to me in a way. Like, I could see Arthur when I hear her music. So I had that on a lot when I was writing. I write this movie, but with Scott Silver, but we write separately. I don't know what Scott listens to, but that's what I was listening to.
Love it.
All right.
And we huge fans of the film.
Thank you.
knocked it out of the park.
Guys, thanks for
That's all
doing
we have
this.
time for questions.
Nice to meet
Thanks
you.
so much. Likewise.